we don't get to see very much of training camp at all. We get to see little clips, from the joint practices. We get to see the open practice. We get to see the preseason games. But most of what we see and what we learn is what we read and what we hear from Elliott, from the other, writers and reporters that are there.
We rely on their eyes.
Yes. So it's really what we hear and what we see. But I think that's something, right? It's something. We hear something. So today's show is about how you felt before training camp starts and how you feel now. Do you feel better, the same, or worse about the 2026 Eagles than you did at the beginning of camp? 215-592-9494. I think I feel worse than I felt when training camp started. I don't feel a ton worse. I didn't go into the season thinking that they were going to be this great team, and now I think they're not going to be a great team. But I do feel worse than I felt when training camp started. Here's why, when I started adding things up. The thing that I started with was, what do I feel better about? And all I really feel better about is that there's no chaos. There's no fighting. There's no AJ.
Yes.
It's not nothing,
yes.
but that was it. So then I start to go to the things that I feel worse about. Well, I do feel worse about Mekhi Lemon. We haven't seen anything from him or heard anything from him because he's been hurt the entire training camp. He was also hurt most of OTAs as well with a hamstring thing. So, look, it doesn't mean he's not going to have a good year, but you would have to imagine he's going to have a slow start. And he was a pretty important piece for this offense going forward, especially this year, to start off this year, Mekhi Lemon, with the new offense, so no Mekhi Lemon. DeVonta Smith was hurt most of camp, and I know he's played with Jalen for a long time, but again, this is new stuff, and every rep that you can get with each other, with this new stuff helps, and they've missed a lot of reps together. Jonathan Greenard, we have not talked about very often, but as far as new offseason acquisitions, Jonathan Greenard was the biggest offseason acquisition they made. They traded serious draft capital for Greenard. They gave him a big contract, $25 million a year, bigger than, I cannot remember an edge that they paid like Jonathan Greenard, and it seems like he's not going to be available at the start of the season. Eli Stowers was their second-round pick. The guy, we read it from Jimmy Kempski yesterday. He doesn't think he's ready to play. I know he's got a hamstring right now, but I think it's been a pretty disappointing training camp for Eli Stowers. And finally, the other reason I think I feel worse, and again, it's not the end of the world, but like Jalen and the passing, I struggle to why I shouldn't feel at least a little bit worse about it. He's turning the ball over more than he has in any other training camp, and he's learning a new offense, absolutely. But the thing that has me feeling a little bit worse about it is that it doesn't seem like, again, at least from everything we hear and we read, it doesn't feel like it's in a much better place today than it was when training camp started 3 weeks ago. And the interceptions would be fine if all of a sudden you start to feel everything's coming together. He's throwing touchdown here, he's throwing touchdown there, but he's not. He's basically thrown almost as many interceptions as he's thrown touchdowns. So when I put everything together, I feel worse about the 2026 Eagles than I did at the beginning of training camp.
Not surprised there. Doom and gloom.
Not I don't think I'm being doom and gloom. think I'm being doom and gloom.
So here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. I'm not going to necessarily – I don't know how much can I lean into I feel better about the team than I did prior to training camp. I'm probably more in the camp of I feel somewhat in the same. And here's the reason why. I feel good in certain areas, but there are also areas that I would have liked to felt better about that I'm still left in the dark about. I don't know exactly. Have they answered these questions yet? Are they better in these areas yet? And I'll just start with the obvious. That's the passing game. Here's where I'm encouraged with the passing game. I'm encouraged that Jalen is on board with what they're doing and what they want to do conceptually with this offense, schematically with this offense. He is less risk averse, and he's more or less putting the ball where they think it should go. Does it end with the results you ultimately want all the time? Some of the times it does. It feels as if it doesn't more often than it does. But, again, I don't get to see it, but that's the feeling that I get. So I think there's still some areas of struggle there with the passing game. And I got the convenient excuse of not having your starters out there with you, your main guys, throughout training camp. You've been throwing to primarily backups versus one of the best defenses in the entire league. How much success can you truly expect? So I got to take my wins where I can find them at. And the biggest win that I can find is Jalen's receptiveness to the offense, the willingness to throw the ball in areas that are more contested, that isn't waiting for a guy to be wide open, and living with the results. I'm going to bank that that's going to benefit him moving forward. So I can feel better in that area while also having questions there. Also offensively, this offense is going to be truly identified by their run game. We needed the offensive line to play better, much better than they did last year. They need to be healthy first and foremost. I think once we got past Lane not being here for those few days, and then he was able to sort of express and get off his chest where his thoughts were about his future, I think that lifts a cloud over that offensive line. At least they know where the leader is at there in Lane Johnson. And it seems like, by all accounts, not only is the starting offensive line playing well and producing well, but it seems like they're developing younger guys at the depth positions of need as well, and the running game may be back. And I bring the offensive line up because of the running game and Saquon. By most reports, Saquon doesn't seem to lack any explosiveness. He doesn't seem slow or lethargic to the hole. He doesn't seem like he's any worse with the wear and tear. These are things that you didn't know about Saquon coming in. And at least I feel like I got my bell cow on that side to run the football with a Tank Bigsby and an offensive line that seems to be healthy. Defensively, as advertised, maybe better. Maybe better.
I mean, when they're going up against this offense.
That's true. Don't interrupt me.
Sorry.
Don't interrupt me.
For sure. Sorry. Cook.
Good point, though.
Cook.
But
yeah,
yes,
cook,
let me cook.
Cook.
Yes,
yeah,
let
cook.
me cook. Reek Woolen seemingly has gotten better as training camp has gone on. Jeremiah at the linebacker position at least gives you 3 seemingly starter caliber linebackers. Jalen Hunt has been one of the stars of training camp that because we're so focused on offense, we take his development to the next step for granted, and it's like, well, yeah, he's going to be good this year. Now, that's a pretty good development for a guy who was a 3rd or 4th round draft pick out of nowhere, Texas.
Yeah, who was the safety 5 years ago.
Yeah, safety 5 years ago, quarterback as well. So he may wind up being your best guy. And I know the Greenard. You bring up a great point about the Greenard. It has been under-talked about when that's a guy you traded for and paid the money you paid to him. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, also a guy who, missed part of last year and wasn't as effective last year because of an injury.
Yes.
And I know it's not, it was a shoulder last year, now it's a pec, but
it's something. It's always something.
It has to be, my guess would be they're related.
I got my eye on it.
Right.
I'm with you there. That's not good news. When you trade for these guys and you give them big money, you want to see them on the field. The last thing you want is they're dealing with injuries, and we got to hope they're good in the regular season. I'm good with all of those things. But one of the best things, Spike, you touched on, you mentioned it. I'm not going to be overly dramatic with it, but the fact that there's peace and quiet in training camp. You don't have the what if this, the AJ, Jalen. You don't have that, right? We can do our whole is it a prove-it year for Jalen and all that, and that's fine. But I don't have the other stuff there that is actually more harmful. People think us talking about stuff on the radio somehow impacts the team. They don't impact the team at all.
Yeah, it's amazing how they think they can ignore
Yes.
AJ,
Yeah,
but they can't ignore
they'll ignore
me.
AJ, but somehow Spike is impacting the team, and they're causing us to lose. Yeah, the noise on the radio doesn't impact the team. It's the noise inside the locker room that has impacted the team, and that's the biggest reason why I feel good about this team, and I feel good going into the season, is that it has been quiet for the most part on the drama front. And that's why I feel good. I know that was long-winded, but
No.
I got through it all.
But you made You made points I had not considered. 215-592-9494. Now that training camp is over, do you feel better about the 2026 Eagles, worse, or the same? I'd rather you pick better or worse, to be quite honest with you. I pick worse. I pick the same, but that's cool.
Yeah.
So, I do want to say this about Jalen and the passing game is him being willing and doing these things and the interceptions happening and him being comfortable with all those things, I see I give him a lot of credit for.
Yeah.
I give him a lot of credit for that, especially when previously one of the issues was that not so much that he couldn't do it, but he didn't prefer to do it.
He wasn't willing to do it.
Yeah,
yes.
and there were other. This is certainly not the first time that they've asked him to be under center
Right.
more. I mean, we heard about it last year. We heard about it during the year. We heard about it the year before. I'm sure from a running game perspective, I imagine Jeff Stoutland is sitting somewhere saying, "I wish you would have done this when I was here." I think it would have helped the run game. Yeah, I don't think the Jalen Hurts being willing to do this stuff is nothing. I think it is a significant thing. I think if for nothing else from a leadership perspective, the fact that he's willing to look worse or have things said about him and do things that he's not comfortable with.
He's willing to be vulnerable.
Yes, I think is a meaningful thing for sure. 215-592-9494. Do you feel better or worse about the Eagles now that training camp is over?